Good afternoon. Let's applaud. That was a pretty cool thing. Make sure you put on your calendar June 8th for the Oak Cliff Film Festival. It looks great. Thank you all for being here. Jefferson Boulevard is one of GrowSouth's focus areas, so we've tried to, over the last 6 years, go across southern Dallas and see different venues. So thank you all for being here on this rainy afternoon. You are sitting, if you don't know, in the world-famous Texas Theater. It opened in 1931. It is on the National Register of Historic Places. As the story goes, our great men in blue, the Dallas Police Department, did Dallas a great service by arresting Lee Harvey Oswald here. And in 2001, the Oak Cliff Foundation purchased this building. Thank you for them. And then Aviation Cinemas took over the operation in 2010. So it's a great place to come watch a movie, come to a film festival, and thank you, Barack, for all you've done for the city of Dallas. Let's give him a big applause. Thank you to my council members and partners for being here. I've heard that Councilman Callahan, Adam McGew, Mayor Pro Tem Alonzo, Casey Thomas, Lee Kleiman, Councilwoman Young, and Ms. Gates is here. So thank you all. Let's give our council a big hand. So today, this was made possible, not just because City Hall paid for it, because they didn't, because sponsors paid for this. And I want to say thank you to the sponsors we've got. Quinn Matthews is the videographer. This is the second year of him contributing his kind services and doing a great job. Texas Capital Bank is one of the main funders of construction in southern Dallas, so this is important for them. PSW is one of our builders of Oak Cliff, and there's so much happening, so thank you to PSW. The Dallas Regional Chamber has been a supporter and leads the Southern Dallas Task Force with businesses and really has done a great job with the GrowSouth website. So thank you to the Chamber for all your work. Kroger's, one of the partners throughout Dallas and particularly here in Oak Cliff. Southwest Airlines is our newest sponsor. They heard about GrowSouth and they wanted to participate. And they're excited to see the growth we're seeing in southern Dallas. And lastly, Frost Bank for sponsoring this venue and always being supportive in so many activities we do. So for those of you that have not been here before in a GrowSouth meeting, let me kind of just tell you what this is all about. 6 years ago, we started with a focus on southern Dallas. We needed to call it something as opposed to a focus on southern Dallas, and so we called it GrowSouth. It was a bit of an awesome and ominous intent because southern Dallas is so big, so complicated, and there's so much happening. But 6 years in, I know it's deep in my heart it was the right thing to do. For the first time in Dallas, people are really talking about southern Dallas, not only in Dallas, but across the Metroplex as being one of the real growth opportunities. So what you're going to see today, as I kind of go through the agenda, I'm going to talk about the basics of southern Dallas. I always start with numbers and say what is the progress we've made over this year and the last few years. Then we'll talk about our plan, the details of some of those plans, and I promise not to bore you too much, and we've got some cool film and tell a story in video, and then we'll talk about the future. As people say, now, where is South Dallas? Well, that's what a lot of people say. Where is that South Dallas? You know, it used to be called the Southern Sector, if you'd been here a long time. And I agree with that, and that's why we changed it to Southern Dallas. Southern Dallas is kind of south of the Trinity on the west and south of I-30 on the east. It has been the forgotten part of our city for decades and decades. It's a massive area. As I've said before, you can fit the whole city of Atlanta inside Southern Dallas. Some business people came from Atlanta the other day, and I told them that, and they didn't like that. But it's just a fact, so we have so much opportunity. And so what I promise to do is to remain transparent, to give an annual update, whether we liked it or not. We would get up here and say, what is the progress, what's good, what's bad and happening in Southern Dallas. Every year we start with numbers, as I said, not with the pretty pictures, because really numbers don't lie. And these numbers are remarkable. As we look at Southern Dallas, the tax base has increased $4.5 billion since 2011. What is extremely remarkable is that for the first time, Southern Dallas is growing at a higher rate than Northern Dallas. So, long story short, if you'd invested $100 in North Dallas versus Southern Dallas, you'd made more money in Southern Dallas. And I think that's something for you guys to be very excited about. Even since when the economy was doing its best right after the turn of the century, we have never seen this type of growth. As we look at since 2012, real property values have increased 43%, and real estate investment has increased $163 million a year. Basically, people putting money into real estate, either their own properties or new properties, $163 million each year. So the question is, why are we growing? And that's where we need diagnostics. And that's where this effort gets a little complicated. You'll be getting, when you leave, this prize, okay? It is a GrowSouth Community Indicators book. And it is bound with every one of the areas you saw earlier. And it looks at each one of the key areas that we think indicate strong business and economy, from property values to school-aged children to property crime to educated residents, and you can look at each one of these areas. Your report has 16 indicators that we measure. We measure them every year, and I will only highlight 10 of them so I won't bore you to death. And so you can kind of see what happens. This is a chart that shows you the 10 of them, and it shows you each of those areas we talked about, and I showed you in that early slide. We look at every little area to see what's happening in that area and see if there's a trend and what we can do differently. By doing this, we can see our strengths and understand what makes sense. Now, simply put, on this chart, excuse me, green is good. So green means in the last year we've improved since last year. Red is bad. Red is we've fallen back, and we didn't make the improvement that we wanted to. Perfection is all green. We haven't gotten there yet, but you can see that we can track this with the numbers about what's happening in each area. Now, I want to simplify this for you and focus on these 10 metrics across all of Southern Dallas. And as you can see, 8 of the areas are green: population, property crime, high school graduation rate, college-educated residents, per capita income, unemployment, neighborhood associations, real property value. The 2 areas that did not grow are school-aged children and public school enrollment. Some of the smaller, dilapidated apartment complexes that have come down in the last couple of years in North Oak Cliff really has driven those numbers down. As you can see, since in the last 4 years it hasn't changed that much. And new single-family homes and apartments are occupying singles in them, and family sizes are also decreasing. And our suburban schools, very important point, are offering open enrollment. So if you live in Dallas, now you can go to these other schools. So it's consistent to see those numbers come down. I think long term we want to make sure we've got families that go to school here, and we'll talk about that in a second. So as we continue to simplify this, let's talk about some areas of importance we looked at last year. First of all, the schools. Second, our income and jobs. And third, crime. Our school performance is mixed. We had high school graduation rate is slightly down. It's virtually flat if you look at it. And our high-performing schools are actually up. We believe this is a better report than we got last year. With programs and initiatives like Early Matters Dallas, DISD New Collegiate Academy, we're moving in the right direction, but we need your help. One of the issues that I believe is that we need more funding of schools in southern Dallas. Thank you. I was disappointed that the tax ratification election did not get approved and we were not able to get those funds in, but I've talked to leadership and they have future funding ideas that are going to be taken to the public here shortly, and I believe we need to all get behind those things. There's nothing more important than we can do than invest behind our young men and our women. So, moving from schools, let's go to see if they get jobs and the money side of the equation. Jobs and money are an important catalyst. As you can see in this slide, per capita income went up and unemployment actually went down in a positive way. In fact, these are actually better numbers than they actually show, because the way we calculate these numbers and some of the numbers in the community indicators is do a 5-year running average. So they are still being held down by some of the early years in this average from the recession. There are people being creative and they want to work in many ways. I was blown away when Uber came to town, and I said, Uber, why are you not taking advantage of southern Dallas? They said, shame on us, and we will. And so we created a program. And it's the perfect example of what I've been saying, that southern Dallas is not a charity case, it's an investment opportunity. So they invested there. Uber has hired over 2,500 people in southern Dallas, okay? Now, I know they're not your typical 9-to-5 employer, but I'm not sure there's a typical 9-to-5 employee anymore in the world. Drivers from the southern area have accounted for more than 15,000 trips per week across the Metroplex. And people said, well, there's no money in southern Dallas. Let me tell you, there's a lot of money, and that's an example of it. And I think it shows you the potentiality of jobs and financials. Turning to the third area, and that's crime, an area we must continue to focus on. Some good news, bad news on here. Although it's not on the screen, we look at violent crime as well as property crime. And we focus mainly on property crime because it's 85% of the calls our police department gets. Violent crime is up here, and it's also up across the whole country, while property crime is virtually flat or slightly down. We've talked to Chief Hughes about what's going on here, and he says that the violent crime are primarily assaults. Murders and rapes are down, really all over the city, including southern Dallas, but violent crimes are up due to those aggravated assaults. Southeast Dallas is seeing more activity in this area, and Ricky Callahan tells us, and he's focused on that. And the Dallas Police Department is committed to do 3 things to address this trend. First of all, train more gang liaison officers for each substation to make sure the substation gets out there and deals with that. Also, to monitor social media to offset those activities, and then also create a fugitive unit to better track and arrest offenders with active warrants, to kind of play offense on this side of the equation. So that gives you a sense of what's happened in this last period of time. Now, 6 years ago when we started this, and I'm sure that some of you have your collector's edition of our scorecard from year one hanging up in your bedroom, we created a 10-point plan. And the 10-point plan, the first 5 were strategies that went across southern Dallas. And then we said, let's take advantage of kind of the hot areas in southern Dallas and try to grow those more. That was 6 through 10. As we start, and I started creating this presentation, excuse me, I kept coming back to the word neighborhood. This year we focused on neighborhoods more and more than we've ever done before. Neighborhood associations went up. We've had more VISTA volunteers working with neighborhood associations. But neighborhoods must be clean, and that's why we talk about a culture of clean. We've got to have good schools. That's why we need to strengthen our schools. We need to have great options, et cetera, et cetera. We know that southern Dallas needs great, strong neighborhoods to thrive. They are the backbone of this growth. Now, as we look at strategies 6 through 10, those are geographic areas, and they're booming. 6 was downtown and near downtown. Over 600 new housing units were added there. In West Dallas, a mix of new properties and traditional properties. La Bajada continues to be strong. Los Altos, new apartment units are growing. I'm very pleased. I am very, very pleased that HMK announced yesterday that those tenants are going to be able to buy their homes, something Monica Alonso has been working on. I just am so pleased. We want those folks to own those homes, and I'm so happy that's happened. And because one of the issues we've got in southern Dallas is we've got too many rental properties and not enough home ownership, and so we're increasing that. On point 8, Lancaster Corridor, that was not a good year. When you see our scorecard, and you'll be getting your scorecard when you leave, I didn't give ourselves a good grade there. We didn't get it going. We had some challenges around Patriots Crossing, some stops and starts there. It's a big area across from the VA hospital, and it's a perfect location to do something exciting for the city. On Jefferson Corridor, where you're sitting today, new businesses are popping up constantly, and the Jefferson Main Street project construction has been approved. If you go just a little north, the whole idea, if we can grow Jefferson, we've already got Bishop Arts, all that area is between the two are going to grow, and you can see the construction that's taking place already there. On the education corridor, that's the part that's far, far south Dallas, where UNT Dallas is, where Paul Quinn College is. The dark blue line is now up and running, and the Wheatland Road infrastructure improvements are approved. So I think we're going to start to see real and substantial new construction happening there. But once again, when you look at all these areas, you realize that they're all neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are a part of this city in a remarkable way. We are a quilt with little patches coming together, but we're so much stronger when the patches actually come together than being separated. And one thing I realized, that for us to be a successful city, we can't just be northern Dallas or southern Dallas. We've got to be neighborhoods coming together. And I saw that for the first time, truly, in July 7th, after the terrible assassination of our officers. And for the first time, I felt we were one city. I was in an airport, and Pastor Richie Butler stopped me in LaGuardia. And he said, "Mayor, I'm tired of the city being divided, this north-south thing. We've got to be united. And I want to volunteer to make 2017 the year of unity. Put programs together where we have pulpit swaps, where people eat and dine with people from other parts of the city, where we play basketball and softball games across the city. I said, do it, and I'm there for you. Richie Butler understands the importance of this city because he understands what's important to all the parts of the city, especially southern Dallas. And I thought there's nobody better to tell the story about what we've been doing in those first 1 to 5 strategies than Richie Butler. So I'll let him tell our story. Thank you.
There are some who say we are divided, north and south. We know better. We are one city, unified. And if we are all to prosper, Southern Dallas must be part of that prosperity.
There's a history, there's a legacy, there's an innate sense of community pride.
The bones are great, the character is there, it just needs some improvements.
Working in Southern Dallas, I have found some of the most vibrant and beautiful and untold stories I've ever heard.
I've been a part of this community for over 20 years now, and I believe there is a physical separation, but I believe that the hearts and the minds of our community speak otherwise. GrowSouth means action to strengthen neighborhoods.
We have the highest rate of child poverty in the country. There's pockets that have very high unemployment. Transportation is a big issue right now. Economic development, food access. We have any number of initiatives that we work on. Of course, the AmeriCorps Vistas are a big part of that. Right now, our Vistas are embedded in roughly 32 neighborhoods across southern Dallas. And so a lot of what they do is to try to be that empowering mechanism. If I live in a neighborhood and I want it to be different, I have to be a part of that. I have to be a part of that change.
The South Dallas Fair Park Public Improvement District is a special assessment district in South Dallas Fair Park. This is the first PID south of I-30. Our zip code, 75215, is the most impoverished zip code in Dallas County. And our main goal is to have a safe and secure community. The landowners in our district, which is 630 properties, they pay an extra 15 cents on every $100 tax assessed value to actually have extra security patrol, hired a homeless program, and it's going really well.
We began to walk the area of Camp Wisdom, talking with the businesses and churches. Everybody started coming together. We found that there were people who had a willingness to work and come together. They just didn't know what they could do. We were limited because we get caught up with what people say we can do instead of like the mayor's rhythm is what we can do once we all come together.
It's a great opportunity for developers to come over here. There's some money to be made over here. The businesses, people, the community wants it to be done. And we're here to make sure we can do what we can to make it happen.
Businesses won't come unless they feel safe. And so out of that, that's when A.P. Martin would tell the story about what happened there.
So this is the Redbird Outreach Center. We came into the community where we had a crime problem. But now the crime problem has significantly been reduced.
Well, because this unit has been over here, they have a relationship with the community and with the kids in the apartment complexes, and because of that relationship, that has changed the persona of some of the kids where they say, I respect police officers, I'm not afraid of a police officer, I will go to a police officer if I'm in trouble.
In fact, when we talk to Curtis, Curtis has this company where he makes sure that people that are unemployed in the area have the ability to get jobs.
But getting jobs wasn't enough. One of the issues that a lot of people weren't able to get jobs because of transportation. So we came aboard and began to provide that transportation so there was no longer an excuse. We began picking up people from the Ledbetter Station and from the Workforce Commission, taking them to jobs at Fort West, Ennis, Fort Worth, and McKinney. And as of August of 2016, we've gotten over 300-something people jobs. because of transportation.
We're starting at the grassroots level, and that's by the neighborhood perceptions of the community members themselves directly. We're trying to make them have pride in their neighborhoods, showcase their neighborhoods either through branding and signage by way of sign toppers and renaming of neighborhoods that didn't previously have names, and building that sense of grassroots pride through the homeowners and those that live in those areas so that that can then bubble out.
In the education corridor, we've seen some of the stakeholders in the area come together around some really common themes, really focused on how can we tackle behavioral health. We have seen a lot of progress with DART. A few weeks ago, City Council approved the Wheatland Road infrastructure. So essentially what that means is water and sewage will now be put into the University Hills area, making that land available for development. And they will be replacing Wheatland Road, which is an old country road. That will be breaking ground at the end of June, so we're really excited.
GrowSouth promotes a safe and clean Southern Dallas.
Southern Dallas for decades has been plagued by a scourge of loose dogs. We've made an enormous amount of progress since last year. Just to bring you back to where we were a year ago, this is right around the time when Antoinette Brown was attacked by a pack of dogs and killed. In the ensuing year, we have hired a first-class consulting firm, BCG, to do a full study of the problem and come up with strategic recommendations. And we have now been implementing those recommendations for more than 6 months. Those recommendations included techniques for how to pick up more dogs off the street. Dallas Animal Services is picking up thousands more dogs, and yet it is euthanizing thousands fewer dogs. We have a live release rate now of over 80%. And so we've now raised $13.5 million out of a total $25 million need to execute a free spay-neuter surge in which we will spay or neuter about 150,000 dogs for free, and we think that will finally get us ahead of the birth rate curve, and we will see substantial and permanent declines in the number of dogs running free around the city.
One of the initiatives as part of GrowSouth is what we call the High Impact Landlord Initiative. And that's a process where we began a couple of years ago actually identifying those property owners in Southern Dallas who have single-family rental properties in the area. Well, what was most important for us to look at was the Dallas Central Appraisal District's CDU rating, which is the condition, desirability, and usefulness of the property. We looked at properties that were rated either poor, very poor, or unsound to determine what our biggest impact properties were. That narrowed it down to 8 high-impact landlords, as we called them, who owned 40 or more properties, of which at least half were in poor or worse condition. That became the group that we began working with. So for the first time, we're not only registering those rental properties, we're inspecting them at least once every 5 years. So we will go into the interior of the properties for the first time and compel the owner to come into compliance with the minimum property standards. Talking about no exceptions.
We must strengthen our schools and build possibilities for the next generation.
Kids are needing a pathway of learning experiences that continue after the school year's over. Certain families who are under-resourced are getting actually a learning slide that happens in math and reading where they're behind learning when the school year starts. Families are really thirsting for information. We had an event in partnership with Dallas ISD, and the city and the mayor was there, and there were over 4,500 families there in line looking for the resources for summer, finding out what limited or free activities are available, which there are many, and really signing up opportunities for their little ones, their middle schooler, and even their high schooler that would keep that learning continued on even after the school year.
in Parkdale and Urbandale. We know that having a healthy lifestyle is very important, and there's a lot of information that families don't always get. Healthy Communities, Healthy Schools is more than a health fair. We have several partners that are sharing information bilingually in English and Spanish with the southeastern community.
Education is really the foundation of our future workforce, and Mayor Rawlings supports 3 historical initiatives. The Mayor's Summer Reading Challenge encourages year-round reading and improves literacy. Last year, children and their families read over 289,000 hours. The Mayor's Back to School Fair is Dallas's largest back to school fair. We have 40,000 children and families that come to Fair Park in August. And the fair provides free school supplies and backpacks to families in need, and also gives important health services. It really is a one-stop shop for families to get what they need for their children so that they are equipped and ready to learn that first day of school. The Mayor's Intern Fellows Program provides 8-week paid internships for high school students to work at area businesses and nonprofits. We have many interns that will work throughout the summer, and they do such a fantastic job that the employers keep them on during the school year and on through college, and then some of them even come back and work for the company full time and have a career with them.
The Collegiate Academy Initiative is a wonderful collaboration between the Dallas Independent School District and the Dallas County Community College District. This past year, we expanded that opportunity to 8 high schools. We've also been launching Cohort 2, which is an additional 10 collegiate academies.
One of the things we see coming up is the expansion of the program in future years and really giving the opportunity to all students who want to go to college to be able to go to college.
Most of the students that have applied are first-generation college-going students. So this is not only a game changer for students and their families, this is a life changer.
I'm from South Dallas. I grew up in South Dallas. I was born in South Dallas, so that's pretty much what led me to scholarship. I always wanted to go to college, but we just never had the money. My mom is disabled. She's bipolar schizophrenic, so she's unable to work. And I've always wondered, how am I going to go to college? You know, I knew I had to go, but I didn't know how I was going to go. And I started researching, and I found Scholarshot.
Scholarshot has one focus, which is to help at-risk students complete college degrees. Not only a financial support in the form of $3,000 to $6,000 a year per student, but also tremendous amount of hands-on academic and personal guidance.
You're never alone. They call me once a month, and they make sure that I'm doing okay, that their services are enough for me, and whatever else I could need, how could they help me? They do so much for me. I have yet to receive a loan, and I'm going on my junior year. So that's a lot right there.
Improving life and possibilities in Southern Dallas requires creative ways to find money.
The access to capital was a serious problem within Southern Dallas. Whenever you went south of the Trinity, you would find a disparity in terms of the amounts that commercial real estate developers could borrow from banks. So we felt there was a need for a debt fund that would bridge that gap. We have close to $40 million of funds that have been invested in the GrowSouth Fund. The first investment is in Redbird Mall. Funding will definitely produce the faster rehabilitation of the mall and hopefully more tenants there. It will be able to help produce some multifamily rental units that will be available for people that live in Southern Dallas. And lastly, there is plans for a hotel in the area, so that will help spur the development of that hotel as well.
Making Southern Dallas part of a unified Dallas requires separating truth from myth. Myth number 1, that there are no arts and culture in Southern Dallas.
Sitting on the GrowSouth Advisory Council, it was really clear to me that art and art equity was not happening for all of the citizens of Dallas, and so we launched GrowSouth Arts, and right now we're focused on bringing an art center, a cultural center, to the Redbird Shopping Center.
Redbird Mall really stood out as a perfect opportunity, and our team gave special consideration to projects and artists that were thinking of doing things in the GrowSouth zip codes. Over Arts Month, we did 4 weekends at Redbird Mall with the Super Fantasy Mercado, where local artists sold their art. And then this summer, Big Thought's going to be having the Redbird Soars summer camps. Arts really are adding to the vibrancy of neighborhoods that already have so much to offer. And so Redbird is really our first concerted effort.
Number 2, that there is no middle-class housing.
When you look at areas that are economically disadvantaged, that's the objective of our committee, is to produce this for-sale housing in these areas of Southern Dallas. Hamden Homes does a rent-to-own type of program, so they get people into the houses, but then teach them how to work on credit so that they can go ahead and make that home purchase down the road after they moved in. The activity's really picked up. The mayor set a goal for us to go in with 1,500 houses. We're going to blow past that. We should probably target 2,000. It may end up being over 2,500 houses. The city is really focusing on how to clear obstacles so that developers and builders can move more quickly. There is a streamlining process that is going on within the city to help push these developments forward.
Myth number 3, that there are no second chances. The city and county worked together to help ex-offenders get clean records and find jobs.
You all woke up today and you were tethered to something that happened, a mistake in the past. But when you go to bed tonight, as soon as you leave here, that tether is gone. It's broken. And you can go out and be untethered. You can go out and be free from a mistake. You can go out and make a better life for yourself because of the work of so many of these good folks.
Myth number 4, that there are no job opportunities in Southern Dallas.
We know that there's a lot of development coming with the redevelopment of Redbird Mall. What we've done is gone out to the apartment complexes where we know there are lower income families and basically offered the job training and the job skills and the job opportunities to them. In the past, we've tried to do job fairs where we set it at a central location and have people come to us, and we realized that that's not successful, so we're taking the jobs to the people.
This is very important today. 30 employers are showing up, 2,300 kids. For the next full year, we will be holding more of these events to see that young people do find their way.
I think what we're doing here today is just creating opportunity. The only way that the promise of America and the American dream can be sustainable and alive and not an illusion is if it's for everyone. And that's what today is about.
There's so many young people in our community here in DFW who don't have jobs, who aren't in school, and we have a wealth of opportunities to join one of the FedEx operating companies.
I asked pastors all over Southern Dallas, I said, what do we need? What do you have to have? What should I do? Time and time again, they say one thing: get these kids jobs.
It's been a lot of negative light over the years through the media, but I think we're changing that perception.
I believe Southern Dallas is Dallas's key to opportunity. If we are all to prosper, Southern Dallas must be part of that prosperity.
Richie tells the story well. And this late breaking news,
The one thing we don't have in Southern Dallas is a Starbucks, and they just announced today that in the spring of 2018 they'll be opening their Starbucks in Redbird Mall. So we're excited about that. They're going to hire locally, they're going to provide in-store training for youth, and they're going to work with local minority business owners as well. So that gives you a handful of the things that were taking place in 1 through 5. Now, I will say that's just a handful. There are so many people and so many organizations that have worked hard. And if you were left out, my apologies. We'll try to include you next year because the stars of Southern Dallas are many. Now, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, we decided that we needed to make these 10 things grow faster, so we created 4 accelerators. They were around communication, breaking down silos, and really the housing components. There are those 4 accelerators that you see up there, and you heard a little bit about them earlier. First was the GrowSouth Advisory Council. We decided with this area to get more focused on how we were going to communicate amongst the citizens in Southern Dallas and throughout the rest of the city. And we are going to have people that represent these specific areas of focus: education, residential real estate, commercial real estate, economic development, and the like. 2 initiatives have already come out of that. One is GrowSouth Arts, and we're going to have an ongoing arts program in Southern Dallas. And second is GrowSouth Real Estate. We realized that this group needs to focus on real estate agents, folks that sell homes, tell the story throughout Dallas, and tell the story about why people should live and buy homes in Southern Dallas. It also further promotes those strong neighborhoods we have. The second accelerator was the Neighbor Up program. Now, this was a venture in working together as a community. We ask all these organizations, as you see, from the Dallas Regional Chamber to the DISD, to Children's Health, to Parkland, the Dallas County, to all come together. We raised private funds to fund 3 general managers to work in 3 different neighborhoods across the city, Southern Dallas, and to see if we could work better together. These general managers report every quarter to the CEOs of these organizations. It's not something they delegate. The top folks sit on that board and say, how can I help in those areas? We're happy to announce that this group wants to sign up again. We've got 3 important areas, one in the Redbird Quarter, and their focus is to make sure that we unleash the financial capability of the neighborhood. This is sponsored by Citibank, so thank you, Citibank, for sponsoring that this year. Somebody just told me a little while ago about how much money there is around the Redbird area, and I said, you're exactly right, and we just need to unleash that capability. The second is Education Corridor on the far right. They want to focus on making sure the infrastructure is in place. If we can get the trains running on time, the plumbing running on time, making sure that we've got the basics, we're going to have a lot of growth in that area. And Verizon has come to the table and said we'll sponsor that organization. So thank you, Verizon, for that. And lastly, Parkdale-Urbandale. Parkdale-Urbandale is an area it sits in both Ms. Young and Mr. Callahan's district, and it's a great area if you haven't been there for families. It's single-family homes and strong working class, and it's right there in the cusp. It could go bad or it could go good, and we're going to make sure it goes good. And we're so happy that we're starting many of the neighborhood programs that are getting folks out and making that a reality. And I will take the first bidder to sponsor that. We've got 2 of the 3 paid for, and we're looking for the 3rd. So we're going to continue this in year 2. The 3rd accelerator program we talked a little bit about is the High Impact Landlord Initiative. Basically, we took those 8 landlords that had the most single-family homes at that poor to unstable condition and asked them to sign commitment cards. Pretty easy. Let us register the home. Let us inspect it inside the home, and let us work together so we can help you improve your homes and improve the neighborhoods in a partnership fashion. So this thing is working, and I appreciate all the landlords that have signed up for this, and we're making a difference, I really do believe. Which, you know, when you think about that, one of the issues about Dallas is we've got such a high level of single-family renters in the country, one of the top in the whole country. Usually renters are in large apartment buildings or multifamily, but we've got a lot of folks in single-family homes. That's okay, but what is really the step forward is to get them to own those homes. And that's why home ownership is really an important and critical thing. And that's why this next initiative, or single-family housing initiative, is critical. Frankly, this has surpassed my expectations. We all said ourselves 2 years ago, can we make 1,500 homes? Well, we've got 1,300 either built or the permits have been built and are going up right now. So we're going to blow past that 1,500. We're going to set a new goal of 2,000. And yes, I may be sandbagging. We maybe should be setting 3,000. But let's get past that, and we'll show how many folks can really want to buy homes. I will tell you, this list of home builders have made it happen. It's a good example. It's what I said. There are hundreds and hundreds of people that participate in the growth in southern Dallas. So all these different companies meet on a quarterly basis. They show their own work. You talk about competition. They just say, look, we're working in this area. We're working in this area. We think we can put 20 homes up here. We can put 30 homes over there. And they're working with the city to break down our barriers to make it a reality. So that's kind of how we run GrowSouth. We take those 10 initiatives, we put the 4 on top of them, and we just get to work, and then we measure ourselves every year. As we turn to Act 3, though, it really is the future. What does the future of GrowSouth look like? I will tell you that a lot of work has been done by the community, by the city, by the police department, by DISD, and I think we've focused on the right things. And this is what I've learned in the last 6 years as I've worked on this. First of all, I think we've got to make sure that we have what I call a catch-up mentality. We have to work harder, faster, quicker to catch up to North Dallas. So when I get impatient at times, and I do, it's because we need to catch up. And I think we are. I think we have that sense of urgency, but we need to keep that intensity going. Second is data, data, data. Look, data doesn't lie. And too often we make decisions on instincts and judgment and what someone told me or where the winds are blowing. And if we do this with data, I think we can make better and faster progress. I know TC and Raquel believe in that and are going to bring more data to this initiative as well. As we look at how we talk to one another, we've got to be honest. Look, we can all be pulling for southern Dallas, but at times we're going to disagree, and at times we may be disagreeing over strategic priorities. So growing a good set of ears, listening, and making sure that we're honest with one another is critical. But in doing that, we have to break down walls. Too much of southern Dallas has not taken place because of walls and because of politics. I've seen it time and time again. So I ask all of us in the political world to support ideas that are working in the community, not because you like the person, you don't like the person, but because we believe in southern Dallas. And lastly, leverage what Richie Butler was talking about, our love for Dallas, this pride that we have. I'm going to tell you, it's no different in Lake Highlands than it is in South Oak Cliff. or Pleasant Grove and West Dallas. People are proud to be in Dallas. And I want to leverage that pride to lift up Southern Dallas. What is remarkable to me around City Council is I have not had one city councilman from the northern parts of our city complain that we're focusing too much on Southern Dallas. They're proud of Dallas, and they want Southern Dallas to succeed. And that's the sort of effort that we need day in and day out. Now, that's our learnings. What about the future? What do I always try to promise you something every year as we go forward. These are my 4 promises this year. We need to create a sustainable model that keeps this going. We need to make sure that we make this beyond any mayor or any political person, that this momentum, this train is not going to stop in Southern Dallas. Second is we need to keep private money flowing. It's due to the private money that we've received much, and we can do so much. The key to our success is going to be that public-private partnership, how we do the right thing on the government side and how we attract the economic and financial investments. Third, we need to optimize other public entities. That's what I learned through this Neighbor Up activity, sitting around with Judge Jenkins and Fred Cerise and Michael Hinojosa, and everybody said, we want to do this. We want Southern Dallas to succeed, because if it does, our institutions are going to succeed. So we need to come together and not just be like the city and the county and the hospital district and the DCCD. You know, we need to be working better together. And lastly, we need to integrate into city management structure. For many years, we were doing this out of the mayor's office, and slowly we started to integrate in some of these initiatives. And we've got a great new opportunity with a new city manager to really have him adopt GrowSouth and put it in the everyday workings of the city. And so I'm pleased that we have a new city manager. T.C. Broadnex is something special, and if you haven't gotten a chance to meet him, I thought I would introduce him to you and let him talk a little bit about GrowSouth. Mr. T.C. Broadnex, our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Rawlings, for your leadership related to GrowSouth. I am excited to be here. I'm excited to be the new city manager. Not so new anymore, but I'm excited to be here nonetheless. Excited, as the mayor said, to move forward with the many opportunities that we have to make our city better. It's imperative that we continue to grow and continue to focus on growth and progress in Southern Dallas. And although the initiative began with the mayor, I think the city has learned a lot. I know I've learned quite a bit over the first few months that I've been here about the commitment and the dedication that people have to Southern Dallas. I'm committed to building upon the rich history of Southern Dallas through this initiative. We have a great opportunity, I believe, to incorporate the various strategies that I've seen working so well in GrowSouth and find a way to leverage those by utilizing data, and I've focused on that in my early administration here, to allocate resources and drive decisions as we move forward. And so what does that mean? That means that our strategies, our approaches for making decisions and investments for the entire city, and in particular Southern Dallas, need to be built around data, looking at market strengths that I believe will result in high visible impact projects, transformative projects in the neighborhoods in Southern Dallas and throughout this community, and create the ripple effect that we strive to create in economic development. Southern Dallas, I believe, is an integral part of this city. As the mayor has shown on the slide up there, it's a large area, very big area. And the fact that that large of an area in our city in many cases have been left behind, I think it's an opportunity for us to seize the day to find ways to move the entire community forward. It's unique not just because of its land mass, but we also have a growing employment center in the area, the existing inland port, and a diverse and engaged community only adds to the value of that particular area. We'll continue, as the mayor said, and I know he's concerned about the many partnerships that he's been able to establish and connect with, but we'll continue to find ways to work and collaborate with those partners that the mayor has so, I think, in his efforts, found ways to bring closer to city government. In many cases, those who had not partnered with the city in the past. Our educational institutions, our private sector are key to helping us develop innovative approaches to the various issues that we face every day to ensure that the future is brighter than our past. Our challenge at City Hall, me as the city manager and my team, is to find ways to move the needle. We've been poked and prodded and studied, and quite a lot of conversations have occurred over the years about Southern Dallas. It's time to figure out how we implement strategies that move the needle, execute with perfection and excellence to find ways to, again, have people believe in what City Hall can do in partnership with our private sector. Focus on equity, particularly as it relates to service delivery, where we make our investments, understanding that there are some areas of our community that have been left behind, and they may need a little bit more help to just get to the starting line where everybody else begins. And so as the mayor passes the baton, and as I see myself working with my executive management team to find ways to incorporate data and metrics into the fabric of how we do things at City Hall, it'll allow us to find ways to do things such as really help guide our capital budgeting, the things that we do and where we invest our dollars. It will allow us to understand better and focus on specific areas for neighborhoods related to code enforcement and improve their quality of life and the things that they see coming out of their front doors. It will help inform our fair housing approaches and how we go about finding where we designate places to put affordable housing. It will allow us to benchmark the quality of life measures that people take so seriously as it relates to determining where they want to live. It will give us an opportunity to evaluate the development opportunities in certain areas and understanding how we build on our strengths and leverage private sector dollars to improve, again, the overall neighborhoods that we seek to invest in. It will allow us to target where we need to remove blight and where we need to acquire properties to find ways to seed and begin redevelopment in areas that have been long forgotten. It will encourage us to reach out and engage our partners, the philanthropic community, the nonprofits, finding ways to build capacity with our many nonprofits in this community to do the work that I don't think we can do alone at City Hall. And we need to coordinate all of those efforts and have all those people working together. And I've talked quite a bit about partnerships in my early term here or tenure with the city. And so we need to build on that and collaborate. And I would say critical to South Dallas and Southern Dallas is our transportation networks. We need to develop a ground game for what we want, what we need as it relates to transportation, and communicate that broadly to outside entities. And so I want to thank you again, Mayor, for your leadership, and I look forward to working with you and the rest of the City Council in the upcoming months as we continue the progress that has been made in the GrowSouth initiative and find a way to ensure that City Hall continually focus on GrowSouth and the efforts that have already begun in doing that in partnership. So again, Mayor, thank you, and I appreciate your efforts.
I've enjoyed working with TC in the last few months. He's a straight shooter. He has high expectations of himself and his team and of the city and of me as well. And so I think we're going to kind of take it to the next level. So, in short, we're going to keep talking about GrowSouth, whether you like it or not, okay? We've been doing it for the last 6 years, and we'll do it again next year. We are starting to see the value of Southern Dallas take off, grow faster than North Dallas. We have seen a focus on neighborhoods starting to pay off. We believe that the momentum is there and the brighter days are truly ahead. We also believe that this is a participation sport, and I want to thank you all just for being here. You are the choir that needs to be seeing this, and because you care enough about Southern Dallas to sit and listen to us, I appreciate that. Please tell the story. Give us your thoughts. Give us your input, because we can do better. As you leave, remember, you can also own a book of community indicators and the GrowSouth, it's your door prize, your GrowSouth grade card as you walk out. And if you are so willing, I'd ask you to leave the Texas Theater, turn right, cross the street, and join us for a taste of Jefferson at Jefferson Tower and the restaurants up and down that street. The restaurants are open, and some of them have special tastings and beverages for you if you've got a wristband. So that's if you're over 21 and have that wristband, I think you can get an adult beverage as well, because we always try to celebrate what's happening in Southern Dallas at the end of this. So walk the block and sample all the locations. Don't get stuck in one. And most importantly, see you here again next year. Thank you.